Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. In today's episode, we're talking about Democrat-ran cities and how more businesses are fleeing from those cities. We're going to talk about how those cities are going against your Second Amendment rights and how those cities are increasing the wages of fast food workers to over a minimum of $20 an hour. This one's insane. Before we jump into it, hit that like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment down below. Share this video with your friends and family all over social media. Your help support would be greatly appreciated. Well, folks, Target is the latest store to get out of Dodge because Target is pulling up stakes on select stores in crime-ridden Democrat cities, joining the host of other retailers looking for greener pastures. They're getting the heck out, folks. We've seen REI get out. We've seen Nordstrom get out. We've seen Target now get out. We've seen Starbucks get out. I mean, you name it. They're all fleeing and getting out of Dodge from these Democrat-ran cities. Evidently, the company's efforts to lock aisles of products behind security glass wasn't a winning solution. We saw video of these grocery stores, places like Target and Walmart, putting mustard behind glass. They're putting ketchup, freaking pancake syrup, or just syrup in general. Coffee grinds are going behind plexiglass, lip balm, toothpaste. I mean, you name it. They're putting all this stuff behind plexiglass and just glass security doors everywhere. It's insane. Who would have thought we would come to the day to see something like this, but leave it up to the Democrats to blow us all away with how poorly they run their cities. The company is shuttering 9 stores across 4 states, 1 in New York City, 3 in San Francisco, 3 in Oregon, specifically Portland, and 2 in Seattle, Washington. Now, what do these all have in common? What do they all, from sea to freaking signing sea, from Washington or California all the way to New York? What do they all have in common? Oh, they're Democrat-ran. It's amazing. It's amazing how poorly they run things, but people want that party to run the country. I'll tell you what they're running. Not only are they running the country into the ground, but they're running their states into the ground. They're running their cities literally into the ground. I mean, it is astonishing that people want to give them more power. And we've seen this. It's as if it's like a prestige, like a badge of honor, that if you drive your city or state into the ground as a Democrat, that elevates you up the chain to run this country as the president. Look at Kamala Harris. Look at the knucklehead Gavin Newsom that's done a disastrous job in this state, and he wanted to run for president for a short time. I don't know what it is, but when you suck at your job as a politician, for some reason, you just move up the chain, the ladder of success. It's astonishing. A combined 150 stores will remain in these areas and affected by the October 21 closures. According to Neighborhood Scout, the chances of becoming a victim of a property crime in these areas is 1 in 51. That's in New York City. 1 in 20 in San Francisco. 1 in 17 in Oakland, California. 1 in 17 in Portland, and 1 in 18 in Seattle. Meaning your chances of something happening to you or your property is extremely high in those cities. You could just be sitting there having a cup of coffee at a red light and get robbed. But it's okay, you guys. They're good at running everything. They have everything under control, from the border to the country to foreign policy. They got their ish together. Don't worry, vote Democrat. For those who are listening to audio, I am joking. It's astonishing. I am under the weather, folks, and while we're taking a sip of tea, this is actually not coffee this fine morning. This is tea. It's throat coat because your boy is sick. We got mugs on baldbrad.com, so pick yourself up a mug. You can also get it down in the shop down below. Link is there in the description. Well, the company made it clear that reasons behind the closure was crime. Thank God, because a lot of these corporations and companies have been fleeing this and kind of blaming it on, like, well, the market just isn't going the way we thought it was. We kind of expanded, or we kind of cannibalized ourselves. And at the very end, like 40 paragraphs deep, they go, well, we're really leaving because of crime. Quote, we cannot continue operating these stores because theft and organized retail crime are threatening the safety of our team and guests and contributing to unsustainable business performance. Gee, you think? We know that our stores serve an important role in their communities, but we can only be successful if the working and shopping environments is safe for all. In a nutshell, losing tons of money, the insurance is probably going through the roof, and we don't want to do business in here anymore because it's an opportunity for us to be sued up the wazoo by somebody because we wanted to keep a store open. Folks, this is how you carve out an inner city. We've seen this in Michigan before. So what happens is when crime increases, businesses do not want to move in those crime-ridden areas. As you're seeing, they want to flee, meaning there is less business in those areas. And because there's less business in those areas, there is less supply. And when there's less supply, there is more demand. And because there's more demand, people that are still doing business in those areas are charging more for those goods and services. And not only are they charging more for those goods and services in those areas because of the demand for those goods and services, but because of the cost of doing business in those areas is extremely expensive because you got to pay up the wazoo for insurance, but you also have to pay up the wazoo for security. And so if you're in those crime-ridden areas, it's going to be more expensive to not only live in those areas, but it's going to be more expensive to do business in those areas, and it's going to be more expensive to buy things in thus said areas, meaning Democrat-ran cities. So this is how you carve out because people are going to leave. And when people leave, guess what goes up? Everything. Everything. So in May, the woke company's CEO, Brian Cornell, said he expected theft, quote, will reduce our profitability by more than, are you sitting down for this number? Are you freaking sitting down for this number? Will reduce our profitability by more than $500 million compared with last year. I mean, folks, take a sip of coffee after hearing that. Or tea. ABC News indicated losses for the company could top $1.2 billion this fiscal year. Granted, some of those losses were attributed to their woke agenda in terms of kind of pushing this trans idea upon kids in their stores. And that's why they took some of their clothing from the front of the store and booted it to the back of the store. So that's a little bit of the losses, but a lot of this is also, as you saw, $500 million in profitability loss because of theft. The National Retail Federation, the largest trade group for the retail industry, said Tuesday that shrink, a catch-all term for internal and external theft and fraud, cost retailers, I can't believe the numbers are this big. I thought it was going to say million, $112 billion with a B in losses last year. In 2021, the cost of shrink was under $100 billion. It was $93.9 billion, meaning things are getting worse. It's astonishing because they say they have it under control, meaning these Democrat mayors, these Democrat senators, I mean, Joe Biden. Well, the border's secure. We got it under control. Every month he's breaking a new record. Every year they're breaking new records on this cost of shrink going up, meaning external and internal fraud and theft. Remember when Whoopi Goldberg, I sound like Joe Biden. I'm sleepy, Jill. I gotta go night-night. You remember when Whoopi Goldberg of The View said that it was red states that saw an increase in crime, and what she was doing is basically throwing a curveball and kind of misleading the American people, in a nutshell, giving misinformation to people. And I would go as far as saying disinformation, because she knew that it was red states, and within red states was Democrat-ran cities that had an increase in crime. And so when it was the Democrat-ran cities that had an increase in crime, obviously it affected the red states that were being ran by Republicans. But that's how they kind of swooze everybody. They do kind of like a wadouble, you know what I mean? They go around the post a little bit because some people are knuckleheads and can't zoom in on the whole idea that look what's going on in their cities and it's affecting the state as a whole. Retailers are seeing unprecedented levels of theft coupled with rampant crime in their stores, and the situation is only becoming more dire. When you're lax on crime, you want to defund the police. You want less police. You don't want police to police neighborhoods. What do you think is going to happen? It's not rocket science. This has been happening for a long time. We've seen cities try this before. Thomas Sowell has talked about it in his books. And you don't even have to look at Thomas Sowell. You can just look at the history of Democrat-ran cities and the destruction they have caused. Folks, we wrote an entire book on the destruction of the left called Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. I wrote a book because I saw the destruction over the course of years and how it's getting worse. And these guys are sitting there going, well, yeah, we thought it'd be great to do business with Democrats in their cities, and now all of a sudden it's not working out, but we still support their woke agenda, but we're not going to have enough of it. It's the same people that don't want you to protect yourselves through your Second Amendment rights to bear arms, but yet they're the ones that have the security around them protecting them. They're the same people that want to defund the police, but want the police to protect them. Do you see where I'm going with this? It's so ass backwards. It's all ass backwards. Ever worsening crime has similarly chased other stores and companies out of Democrat-run cities. For instance, AT&T announced in June that it would be closing its flagship store in San Francisco. San Francisco is literally that, in Sacramento is seeing like full shopping malls getting out. Like Westfield Mall is gone. They're getting out of Dodge. It's crazy. I sound like Jerry Seinfeld. It's crazy. They're getting out of here. Can you believe it? They're gone. I mean, there was a business there, then there wasn't. Where police have indicated there have been 24,000 reports of larceny theft, 2,000 robberies. Guys, I'm rounding down. Okay, I'm rounding down. It's over 2,000. It's over 24,000. Okay, 4,100 burglaries, almost 1,800 assaults, and 40 murders so far this year, citing changes, quote, shopping habits. This is what I'm talking about, how they're basically burying what's actually going on. They're masking it. They're putting a bunch of smoke when there's a massive fire taking place, going, well, it's just shopping habits have changed. Yeah, those shopping habits of paying for the ish that you wanted to buy before is now just not paying for it and walking out of the store, stealing it. Well, shopping habits have changed. What is those habits? Well, before they paid for it, now they don't. Before you went to jail for robbing a place, now you don't. The Blaze previously noted that consumer shopping habits in San Francisco have changed drastically since leftists successfully paused Proposition 47 in 2014. We've talked about that proposition at length. People voted for it. Dems wanted it. And now they're getting their bleeps kicked because of what they voted in. So whenever you see somebody do these on-street interviews like James Klug or other people, what should be really asked of these people that they're interviewing is, do you like this crime that's taking place in your neighborhood and city? And you would imagine somebody that's sane would say, no, I hate it. The follow-up question needs to be, do you vote Democrat or do you vote Republican? End of story. If they say Republican, great. Can't blame them. But if they voted Democrat, well, they get to deal with the ish because they voted for it. A leftist California ballot initiative that effectively decriminalized thefts under $950. So meaning if you stole $950, I think it's like a misdemeanor, and nothing happens to you. It's a slap on the wrist. Cops aren't even being called. And if they are being called, they're like, we're not showing up. Well, our place is being ransacked by 100 people. Yeah, figure it out. Well, can I shoot them? No, you're not even supposed to have a gun. The dude that wants to sit there and protect his property and his life, that has a gun, is probably the guy that's more likely to be arrested than the guy that actually stole and ransacked and robbed an entire store. Let that one sink in. Nordstrom's chief store officer indicated in May it was closing its anchor location in Westfield Mall, citing dramatic changes in, are you sitting down? Quote, dynamics of downtown San Francisco market. Yes, you heard that correctly. So here we have AT&T saying there's a change in shopping habits. And then now you have Nordstrom saying that, oh, well, it's just a change. There's just a change in the dynamics of the downtown San Francisco market. See what they're doing here? This is the same thing we kind of do with the whole Civil War when we're teaching history, kind of Howard Zinn history of things, the revisionist history, is we say, well, it's the North versus South. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was the Republican North going up against the Democratic North and the Democratic South. Those parties were fighting one another. So they never want to be specific because it throws a certain party consistently across the board throughout history under the bus. And what that party is, it's called the Democrat-ran party. Or the Democratic Party, or the Dems, or the Libs, or the leftists, some of them. Crime statistics in neighboring Oakland, which has also done a great job repelling businesses, paints just a bleak picture. As of August 27th, violent crime was up 19% this year over last. Robberies are up 30%, rapes 6%, burglaries 44%, and motor vehicle theft 52%. Portland, too, has seen an exodus of businesses in recent months. In March, Walmart, the Waltons, like Bernie Sanders like to say, the evils, the billionaires, the Waltons, announced it was closing its last 2 remaining stores. Not long after CEO Doug McMillon warned the company had seen a significant spike in thefts. Again, it's as if they're blindsided by this. After what we saw with the BLM riots, Antifa burning cities down to the ground, and then you had an entire side of the country, the Democrat Party platform, saying we want to defund the police, and did so. We want to allow places like Chaz and Chop, these autonomous zones, to take place. And then they're baffled that all this is happening. Like, oh my God, nobody's policing anymore. Yeah, that's what you wanted, you knuckleheads. That's what you wanted. And now you're shocked and going baffled that, God, we're being robbed. We don't have enough money for security. We don't have the insurance. We can't cover the insurance. It's too much. It's costing us an arm and a leg. We're losing billions of dollars, and we can't believe it. And I'm always tying this back. This is the people that people vote for. Look, all this stuff is taking place, yes, because you have knuckleheads and a lack of morality, and that's a whole nother conversation for a video, but you also have people going to the polls, voting in these politicians that are exacerbating these issues, or the knuckleheads are voting in themselves, like Prop 47, to shoot themselves in the foot. According to the Portland Police Bureau, there were 6,000 robberies, 25,000 larceny offenses, 1,400 robberies. Sorry, it was 6,000 burglaries, 25,000 larceny offenses, 1,400 robberies, 340 arsons, 10,000 assault offenses, 104 murder reports between August of 22 and August of 2023. Hundreds of businesses, including Starbucks and Nike, have also fled Democrat-run Seattle in recent years, again owning to unchecked crime and violence. So far this year, Seattle had over 25,000 property crimes. Folks, so far this year, we're like about to hit October. It's not even done yet. 25,000 property crimes, almost 3,500 violent crimes, 42 murders, and 205 rapes. Do you see a constant theme here above it all? And it's not just those stores. Oh, we're not done. Folks, we got a long show here for you because we're talking about, again, if you're just joining us, Democrat-ran cities, carving them out because businesses are getting out of Dodge. Well, CVS is to close, are you sitting down? 900 stores. If you're driving, you might have pulled over. 900 stores by the end of next year as pharmacy chains battle rampant. You want to fill in the blank what we just talked about? Target, Walmart, REI, all these places, Democrat-run cities. Retail theft. By the end of 2024, CVS Pharmacy will close 900 stores as it pivots to a new, quote, retail footprint strategy. Again, look at the language they're using. They don't want to address, we're getting the hell out of Democrat-run cities because Democrats suck at running cities and the crime that's being allowed by Democrats. None of this has to do with Republicans. Those people that are ransacking these stores and looting, I guarantee you, they're not Republicans or conservatives. By definition, they are not, because they're not conserving the values that are good. By definition, they are not. The company announced plans in 2021 to shutter hundreds of its stores over a 3-year period in order to reduce store count density in some areas and adjust to the online market by converting its stores into healthcare destinations that offer shots and testing. See how they're going to bury this? You can already see it taking place. They're going to bury the real cause as to why they're closing 900 stores. Many customers are now opting to fill their prescriptions online through telehealth and retrieve their items at the pharmacy's curbside pickups. At the time of the initial announcement, the CEO of CVS said this, quote, "Our retail stores are fundamental to our strategy and who we are as a company. We remain focused on the competitive advantage provided by our presence in thousands of communities across the country, which complements our rapidly expanding digital presence." In 2022, CVS permanently closed 300 retail locations. It will shut an additional 300 this year and another 300 next year. According to CVS, though, It is closing hundreds of its locations due to local market dynamics, which we heard from other retailers, population shifts, and a community store density. You mean the theft, the ransacking, the smash and grabs that are going on? That's really why you're leaving. A company spokesperson said, maintaining access to pharmacy services in the communities we serve is an important factor we consider when making store closure decisions. So you want to service those communities, but to service those communities, you're going to close your stores down. Other factors include local market dynamics, population shifts, and community store density, and ensuring there are other geographic access points to meet the needs of our community. Meanwhile, pharmacy chains, including CVS, Walgreens, and Rite Aid, are battling rampant retail theft at some other their store locations, like contributing to closures. I feel like that was what we said was going to happen once they buried it all. But it's just, it's density, it's store population, it's not a very good competing store. According to Capital One researchers, retailers lost approximately $86.6 billion to theft in 2022. And again, as we saw, they're projected to lose over $115 billion by 2025. Walgreens announced earlier this year that it plans to close 150 store locations due to crime and drop in earnings. Speaking of Rite Aid, again, reportedly plans to close hundreds of stores as it mulls how to get ahead of billions of dollars in debt and a slew of opioid-related lawsuits. And on top of that, it's not just the lawsuits. It's not just the expansion that they've done, which probably happened too quickly. It's not the fact that Joe Biden has killed the economy. It's not just the fact that everything is crumbling under Democrats' rule, but it's the crime that's taking place. It's the crime that's taking place. I think we've kicked the horse enough in the nuts with this story, and we're going to move on to the next segment. The next segment is talk about how Gavin Newsom, governor of California, signs fast food workers to minimum, okay, again, it's called a minimum wage bill, minimum $20 an hour. Okay, this hasn't even gone into effect. I went to Farmer Boys or whatever the hell that place is called. I'm not exaggerating this dollar amount, okay? I went in there and a combo, folks, of a normal burger, just a normal burger, French fries and a drink. I'm talking normal of normal. There's not gold leaf painted on this burger, just a burger and French fries and a pop, okay? A soda. $21.53. Yeah, you heard that right. I couldn't believe it either, so I didn't pay for it. So these people that are taking food that's pre-cooked out of a freezer and putting it into a microwave, setting it for 2 minutes, taking it out, and handing it to you, want $20 an hour. Folks, fast food is supposed to be for teenagers. It's not a career. It can be if you're a manager. It's not a career. Well, I need a living wage. What does that mean? People always talk about living wage. Folks, 8 in 10 Americans live paycheck to paycheck regardless of income level, meaning you can be making 6 figures and living paycheck to paycheck because you chose to put yourself into debt. You chose to make certain decisions in your life that basically result in you living paycheck to paycheck. I'm not saying that's the case for everybody, okay? That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying here is a living wage is, it differs from person to person, family to family. And so when you say, well, I need a living wage of $20 per hour, not everybody needs a living wage of $20 per hour because everybody lives their life differently. And again, it's a vicious cycle because if you want it to be a living wage, and let's say $20 an hour was a living wage, well, because now those franchises are going to pay you $20 an hour to scoop food from a bowl with a ladle onto a plate and hand it to the dude in his car or gal, well, that's going to cost the price of everything else to go up. It's going to cost the food prices to go up, the drink prices to go up. Everything's going to go up. It's a vicious cycle, and that's why minimum wage consistently goes up. So now you want $20 an hour. That $5 burger is not going to be $5 anymore because they want their profits. If it's a public company, they want their profits to go up. You are responsible to the shareholders. If it was 3% the previous year, they minimum want that 3% increase the following year. And if that 3% is being eaten up by labor, what do you think is going to happen? They got it. Somebody's going to have to eat that cost. And it sure in hell ain't going to be the company. It's going to be you, the consumer. Basic economics. The new wage takes effect April 1st, 2024, and applies to workers at restaurants that have at least 60 locations nationwide, except those that make and sell their own bread. The minimum wage for workers in other industries across the state standards is $15.50, among the highest in the nation. Quote, "This is a big deal," Newsom said during an event in Los Angeles, where he signed the fast food minimum wage bill. You know, if you increase minimum wage and people stop buying thus product, then now you are out of a job because you wanted more money. This goes back again to Thomas Sowell, Economics 101, fabulous book if you haven't already. You can also see it in Discrimination Disparities in different avenues and aspects. But minimum wage, the result is zero at the end of the day because you're going to be out of a job. This is not supposed to be a career of flipping burgers. I know I'm not trying to belittle those that have that job. I think it's great that you're contributing, you're trying to pay your bills, you're trying to make something of yourself and probably put your kids through college or whatever it is. But there's other avenues that are supposed to be in place to get yourself there. Fast food is not a career that you are supposed to have. I understand some people do. Again, I'm not trying to belittle anybody. I'm not trying to be an a-hole here. I'm just saying what it is supposed to be. So we're supposed to go from is to ought. It is this. It ought to be this. It used to be this, and now it is this. Now it ought to be that. He's also dismissed popular views that fast food jobs are meant for teenagers just entering the workforce. So let's hear what he has to say. Let's hear what this gleaming man that's done such a good job of taking care of California, and by taking care of California, I mean driving it right into the ground, has to say. That's a romanticized version of a world that doesn't exist. That is the ought. What was, what is, and what ought to be. What was teenagers running those fast food jobs. What is now adults treating as a career. What it ought to be of what it was, which is teenagers. But that world doesn't exist anymore. We have the opportunity to reward that contribution, reward that sacrifice, and stabilize an industry. There was a video that I saw for McDonald's franchises that roughly they make about $300,000 profit on average. On average. So some of them make more, some of them make less. Vast majority is about $300,000 or less. If you implement this, what's going to happen is that profitability is completely gone. And so the only way to keep that profitability is to increase prices. And if they don't increase those prices, guess what's going to happen to that company? They've already said it. They've already said these franchises are going to shut down. They can't absorb this type of cost, especially when you increase it from $15.50 to $20 an hour or whatever it is now. I mean, that is a massive jump. That's what they don't understand is there's localities are different from different localities. State is different from a different state. That's why I don't think we should have a federal minimum wage. What takes place in California's economy and market is different than what takes place in Middle America's economy and market. If you were to double the federal minimum wage from, was it $7.50 or $7.25 an hour to say $14, let's say $14. I understand it's not directly 50%, but let's say we're going to close to double it to $14. Yes, California can absorb that cost. Middle America cannot. You've done a massive shift for mom and pop stores that are going to be crumbling. Corporations, in essence, can't handle this. Here's what else he has to say. In exchange for higher pay, labor unions have dropped their attempt to make fast food corporations liable for the misdeeds of their independent franchise operators in California. In addition, an action that could have upended the business model on which the industry is based. Rather, upended, sorry. The industry, meanwhile, has agreed to pull a referendum related to worker wages off the ballot in 2024. Mary Kay Henry, president of the Service Employees International Union, International, hell of a name, said the law capped 10 years of work, including 450 strikes across the state in the past 2 years. The moment was almost too much for one person who held back tears as she spoke during a news conference just before Newsom signed a bill. This person, a mother of 7 if you count her beloved dog, works at Jack in the Box restaurant in Inglewood. Look, I'm not trying to belittle this person by any means, but if you are a mother of 6 people, why are you working at Jack in the Box? Like, I get you're working at Jack in the Box, right? But was it a wise decision to have 6 children and then on top of that, go out and invest in a dog that's going to cost you more money per month to maintain? And let's assume that you don't have a house and you're living in an apartment complex or you're renting from somewhere. You're probably paying a monthly payment to have that dog in said rental space or whatever it is. So this is what I mean by living wage. It's different from person to person. My living wage is going to be different than somebody else. I don't have any kids, so my living wage is going to be different from this person that has 6 kids. But why is it my fault that somebody chose to have 6 kids but decided to still work in a fast food restaurant at Jack in the Box? I'm not, again, I'm just bringing awareness to the idea that some people want $20 an hour, but they chose to go a certain career path and chose to make certain life decisions, like have 6 kids. That ain't cheap. I mean, bless her heart for working and taking care of those kids. I hope there's a father in the household helping that supplemental income, because that's not an easy life by any means. I'm not shellacking her. I mean, damn, can you imagine the burden that is on that woman to have to take care and feed those kids and that dog? Strong woman, I'll tell you, she has to be. Well, they've been with me on the picket line, and they've been marching with me as well, Williams said to her children. That's the lady that works in Jack in the Box. This is for them. I think it's great that you're getting more pay, but at the end of the day, sometimes more pay will equal less jobs because they can't pay for it. And that's why Thomas Sowell again says minimum wage, the end result is going to be zero. It's going to be nothing because you just put yourself out of a job. It's sometimes cheaper to give people part-time, less hours than it is to have somebody be full-time and give them the same amount of hours they had predicated or before you actually had that increase in wages right there. And if that wasn't enough, again, if you're just joining us, the show is about Democrat-run cities, how businesses are fleeing them, how they're going after franchisees, corporations, and increasing minimum wage, the minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 an hour minimum. That's why when you go to places, and again, it hasn't even taken effect yet, you're paying over $21 for a 1-meal combo, a burger, fries, and a drink. It's not, folks, it doesn't cost $21 to put lettuce, tomato, onion, pickle, mayonnaise, mustard, and a patty and bread. It doesn't cost $21. That soft drink is pennies. Where do you think all that money is going into labor? Think about how many burgers you have to sell a day to pay for the labor. That doesn't count for the insurance that you're going to have in these Democrat-ran cities. That doesn't account for the insurance of the employee that's probably gone through the roof because of where they live in the state that they live in. It doesn't account for the electricity. It doesn't account for the gas, which now the Democrats want to get rid of your gas stoves. You get what I'm saying here? You see what's going on? So if that wasn't all enough, California faces legal challenges after imposing dozens of gun control measures. Yes, folks, they're going after your Second Amendment rights. I know this is nothing new. They've been doing it for quite some time, but now ish has gotten real. Pro-gun owner groups immediately served a lawsuit to California officials after Democrat Governor Gavin Newsom signed nearly 24 anti-gun laws in Tuesday, which were designed to control concealed carry rules and impose a new tax on firearm and ammunition sales, as if it wasn't already through the roof on the tax that we have in this state. Ammunition is hard to buy, and when you can get your hands on some 9mm or 45, it's through the roof. We pay up the wazoo for ammo here, you guys. Well, Brad, you live in the state. Yes, I know. I'm kicking my own, you know what, like liar, liar. I kicked my own ass. Yeah, that's basically what's going on here. I get it. I'm not complaining. I chose to live here. I got great weather, and I'm on the front line of the political battlefield. But God, does it drive me up a wall. This is just the latest assault on our rights in California. You damn right. This comes from Erica Pratt. She's right. Erica's right. Senior Vice President of Gun Owners of America, GOA. She told the Daily Wire in an email statement, quote, just as concerning, Governor Gavin Newsom has already made it anti-gun intentions quite clear. He wants to effectively repeal the Second Amendment. She's not wrong when saying that. Based on what is happening, she's not wrong. I mean, he's pretty much said it outright almost. Sadly, his acknowledgement that doing so would be the only way to enact more gun control did not dissuade him from violating his oath when he signed this law into effect. But we are fully prepared to fight back. Yes, what she means is you said you were going to uphold the Constitution. You were going to defend the Constitution at all costs. Number 2, our Second Amendment right is the right to bear arms. And what do you want to do? You want to sit there and infringe, keyword, infringe on our Second Amendment rights. And what's amazing here is the state and cities that are ran by Democrats, which we just did on the full front end of the show, how crime is going through the roof. They want to impose less laws. They want to impose in less resolutions and less damages on those criminals than they want to do on actual law-abiding citizens. Meaning, you robbing the place, it's fine. Take all the stuff you want as long as it's under $950. If it's over, we don't really care anyways. To you shot the guy that's storming your house he zip-tied your wife, he killed your kids, and you shot him, you're going to jail. That guy's going to be out of jail in the next 5 years. It was a little bit of a stray, all right? I probably added way too much I needed to there, but it's not as far off as you might think. Meaning the guy that's robbing you, you shoot him, you're the one that's probably going to go to jail, the other guy isn't. And that one, I'm not kidding. That one's probably very legit, and it has happened before in Democrat-ran areas. So now they want to go after law-abiding citizens, which tends to be the thing. So the criminals do more crime, law-abiding citizens, we always get screwed here. Pratt and the GOA teamed up with gun owners of California and the Gun Owners Foundation to challenge one of the 23 signed laws by Newsom this week, which stem from Newsom's effort to maintain his image as one of the nation's gun control leaders. I can't believe people still vote for this guy. On one end, things are really bad in Democrat-ran areas, but on the other end, it's the red areas in Democrat-ran states or Democrat-ran areas as well. Because, for example, like Orange County in Southern California, if you look at California, California is ran by Democrats. But if you look at the localities within there, you can have a Democrat-ran city, but the locality within inside that city is actually Republican. So it's those localities within those Democrat-ran cities that are basically being screwed here up the wazoo because you got a bunch of Democrats running the show. But at the end of the day, it's those Republican-ran localities within those Democrat-ran cities that are being screwed because those Democrats are outvoting those Republican areas in those localities. The reason why I bring that up is because that happens to me all the time. All the time. That's why there's like gun-free zones everywhere. You can't protect yourself anywhere, and it's those gun-free zones where you're getting robbed. It's the gun-free zones that you're being killed in. It's the gun-free zones that are having this massive loot and theft taking place. And you can't even protect yourself because this guy goes, oh, well, guns are bad. Guns are so dangerous. Yes, we know that they're dangerous, but we have a right to protect ourselves and our families. The law SB 2 requires gun owners to undergo more training hours, increase costs associated with permits. Meaning, in a nutshell, sometimes if 8 in 10 Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and people are already complaining how they need a living wage, now you just price them out of the market of being able to protect themselves, meaning you infringed on their right to bear arms because they don't have access to that arms at all. So has that right effectively been eliminated? Yes. And what their argument is, you still have the right. Oh, you can't afford it. Well, the right's still there. It's not our fault that you can't afford it. Oh, we're taxing up the wazoo so you can't afford it. Oh, well, not our problem. You still have that right to get to it. This is how they do that loop around you guys. Oh, well, you don't have a concealed carry, but I mean, you could still have one at home. So this is what they're doing. I've said this time and time again since the inception of this show. It's not about removing your rights overnight. If you look at the history, some countries have done that. But if you look at the countries throughout history, predominantly it was a slow, steady stream of chiseling away at removing something. And at the bare end, there was nothing left. At the very, very end, there was nothing left. That's what's happening to our rights right now, you guys. And I mean this in all seriousness. This isn't a show for entertainment, right? It is. That's why, we're animated and all that stuff. Dead serious right now. They are chiseling away at that right. Do we still have it? Absolutely. Is there obstacles we have to go over to be able to utilize that right? Absolutely. That right is still there. But what's happening is it's increasingly being harder. It's increasingly becoming harder to utilize that right. And at some point, there's not going to be that right. It might not happen in my lifetime. It might not happen in your lifetime, whether you're young. It might not happen in our children's lifetime. But if we keep going down this road of chiseling away, that right will at some point be gone. Once that right is gone, all your other rights are see you later. And even those rights might take some time once that Second Amendment right's gone. But it's only a matter of time. And that's when you have the fall of the republic, basically. And that's why we created this logo right here, where the eagle is facing the mic, right? There you go, right? Facing the mic. We do a podcast here. We do a show. But then the Second Amendment right protects the First Amendment right. That's why he's holding a gun. I made this logo myself. That's the symbolism behind it. The eagle represents America. The America has a First Amendment and Second Amendment right. We utilize our First Amendment, but we back ourselves up with the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment's gone, no longer do we have that First Amendment. The microphone's gone in a nutshell, and so are the rest of your rights. And now you just become an authoritarian state. You become a total totalitarianism government, or just society as a whole. While radical judges continue to strip away our ability to keep people safe in California California will keep fighting because gun safety laws work. No, they don't. No, they don't. Shut up. You have the most crime-ridden area, bro. What are you talking about? Newsom said in a news release which details the new laws and touts California's gun death rate that 2021 data from the Center of Disease Control and Prevention ranked 43rd out of 50 states with 9 deaths per 100,000. But according to the gun activist groups, the measure is unconstitutional, and they have stated that they would explicitly go after the sensitive places provision of the law. SB 2 creates a patchwork quilt of locations where Second Amendment rights may or may not be exercised, thus making exercise of right to so impractical and legally risky in practice that ordinary citizens will be deterred from even attempting to exercise those rights in the first place. Correct. That's what I was prefacing earlier. Another person says on behalf of the board of GOF and his role as the executive director of Gun Owners of California, put in a statement here, pro-gun groups in California have had success when pushing back on legislation like this. Just look at our victory last week against the state's magazine ban. I just want to preface this as well, is that we're also going into a situation and an environment within our own government, specifically our legislature and our judges, to where at some point I do believe that even their rulings are going to go against our rights. It's slowly morphing into that, and that's been happening for quite some time. Thank God we have a Supreme Court that tends to actually follow the Constitution. Thank God we still have some politicians that follow the Constitution, some people in this country, but you never know, because look at who's sitting on the court now. I mean, there's still some knuckleheads on the court. I'm no gem in terms of understanding of every legal matter, but I do know the right that I have, and you are infringing upon that right and consistently making it harder for certain Americans to utilize that right as well. I have the right to protect myself. I have the right to protect my property, my family, and all those other things, but they don't believe so, you guys. The Dems do not believe so. Some of them do. Some Democrats do believe, but the progressive left, like Gavin Newsom here, boy, oh boy, they do not. And it's scary when you live in a crime-ridden state, and that if you shoot somebody the wrong way after they just got done kicking your butt, you can go to jail and they're scot-free. And no, I'm not kidding. That is legit. The reason why I have to say I'm not kidding is because it's so outlandish and it's so crazy that you feel the necessity to explain to the listener that that is not a joke. It's like the whole satire stuff that's going on where people play make-believe and all these other things, and you know, they say outlandish things and do outlandish things. Back in the day, we would think, wow, that's pretty crazy. That's a really funny made-up story. But nowadays, satire is real. It's happening. It's so crazy. Well, more businesses are fleeing. Democrat-ran cities are going into the dumpster. If you live in a red city, well, folks, welcome to free America over there, and send your love. Send your love by buying a mug, buying my book, Trojan Horse, buying the merch in the Bald Brad store. Links are all in the description. We would love your support. Become a member today. We do have a membership down here. It says join. It's $4.99 or $9.99 a month if you want to go crazy. We would love more members here to keep the show running, to keep the lights on around here, folks. You never know. We would love your support on that end. I know it's Biden's America right now. I know the economy sucks. I know things aren't going the right direction, but when things aren't going the right direction, that's when we got to uplift those values, those people that are in our lives, that are spreading those values, that are spreading an initiative, spreading a narrative that is truth to other people. And that's what we do here on the Bald Brad Show. We would love you to become a member. We would love for you to buy our products so that we can continue to invest your hard-earned money, my hard-earned money back into the show and build something that is great, such as making this country, making America great again. With that being said, folks, hit that like and subscribe button, leave us a comment down below, share this link with your friends and family, and folks, I'll see you tomorrow here on the Bald Brad Show.